Don't let it go.
Hey, everybody, I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland, and I'm a little overdressed today. It's a good thing I don't have the jacket on and the tie on. That would really be too much to take. He's Aaron William Freeland. Aaron, how's your week going so far?
Week's going all right. Everything is falling into place as it should. The NHL is back tonight, thank goodness. We've got hockey to talk about as opposed to anything else. And the J season is getting closer. Grapefruit League has started, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, we've watched some baseball. We're getting an impression of what the team looks like. Anybody new that might be fun to follow? I've had a chance to watch a couple of the games. Nothing really to report other than these guys are getting into shape. That's about it. It ain't rocket science. They don't call it training camp for nothing.
Exactly.
So about that. I guess we'll probably touch on this later, but I want to start by not defending Austin Matthews because he doesn't need any defense from me. But I just want to make clear, all right, I've been very tough on Austin Matthews, but I've been very tough on the hockey player, not the person. I have no interest in attacking a person personally, right? The most personal I get with hockey players is when they make statements that aren't supported by their actions. Then it's free game. For example, I want to be a Maple Leaf forever, Marner says. And this is his first contract, and he's already talking about where he could go to make more money, to get more leverage, to get more money. He threatens to sign an offer sheet, and that was the end for me in trusting what he had to say. But he's a professional hockey player. He can conduct business the way he wishes. That, to me, is not about personal. It's about how he does business, right? Because hockey players are a business. They're a quantity to be bought and sold, not them, their ability. And so with Austin Matthews, I know there are a lot of people who their shorts are in a knot because Austin Matthews shook hands with the president, showed up at the White House, and a lot of people are making that means he supports Donald Trump and his agenda. I want to remind folks that Austin Matthews' mother is a Mexican national. I just want to start by saying that. So in my opinion, when he goes to the White House, when anyone goes to the White House, it's bigger than Donald Trump. It's bigger than the president that's there that day. This is the house, the White House, that is the representation of the Stars and Stripes, the United States of America. So in going there, one can go there and be respectful of the person who happens to be in the position in that house, the White House. Do I like Trump? I don't think there's anybody that's going to be mistaken to think that I like Trump in any way. Do I wish that the players would say, F you, we're not coming? Yeah, sure, that would be great. But that's easy for me to say, not in their position, where they have to continue living their lives in America. So for me, I give Austin Matthews the right to do what he can to get through the situation. You'll notice he wasn't at that wonderful speech last night. He left before the speech, the State of the Union address. He was one of the people that wasn't there. There were, at my count, 10 or 12 players there. That's it. And there's more than 10 or 12 players on the U.S. national team. So I want to say, for those of you on the internet, those of you on Leaf chat rooms, applying your disgust in what Austin Matthews did, I think you're out of line. Aaron?
And that's fair. Players are going to go where they see fit. It's not our job to make their lives more difficult or anything like that. My issue with it comes from the fact that a lot of people will look up to these players as their heroes and as role models to emulate. I think it's an interesting disconnect for Austin Matthews to go to the White House to shake hands with the president based on his stance towards immigrants, of which his mother is one. And again, if Austin Matthews can see his way past it, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. His actions are his actions. I do think that if you are going to go to the White House to meet with the president, there should be a certain amount of respect for the office, if not necessarily the person. So I can certainly appreciate it from that regard. But at the same time, when the NHL is trying to get more eyes on the sport, and with a surge in popularity, especially amongst the female fan base, after the success of the Canadian-produced heated rivalry, you have to wonder what sort of a message this sends to potential new fans if hockey players are willing to engage with the individual who currently occupies the White House. Now, again, president's office, I have respect for the office of the president of the United States, if not necessarily the man himself. So I can understand and appreciate what they're doing, but they also need to realize that this is bigger than them. It's bigger than I got to shake the president's hand. It's bigger than I laughed at his crappy joke about the women's hockey team and how he might get impeached if he doesn't invite them. But the players are going to do what the players are going to do.
There is nothing. There's, sorry, another moment for you. Go ahead. No, you sure? Okay. Let's be clear here. From my perspective, it's simply this. We have to pick our battles. Each of us, individually, collectively, we all have to pick our battles. And there are some battles that you don't take on, and there's some hills you don't need to die on. If I'm Austin Matthews, and if I put myself in his shoes, not my shoes on his feet, his shoes, I'm not picking this battle. This is not the battle I want to pick right now. I don't want to do this at the White House. Now, what he can do is, as he's done historically when he's only gotten political, like remember with the rainbow flag and all that stuff, he was one of those that was one of the people that spoke on behalf of it and didn't think it was a bad idea and it was an okay idea, which I don't applaud or criticize. That he had an opinion on something that was happening directly in the National Hockey League. Now, what's happening outside of the National Hockey League, he doesn't feel, and I get the impression from the way he answers questions, he doesn't feel that it's his jam. It's his thing. To your point, I don't disagree with you at all that Trump is a troublemaker, because that's what he is. He's a well poisoner. He poisons every well. And this whole situation it lands on the players when it shouldn't land on them. It should land on him, he's a classless human being. He has a lack of character. I think we're beginning to realize that he also has some predilections that are very troubling for all of us. So, it's starting to come out how horrible a human being this guy is. So I can understand the conundrum that you and I as a unit have, right? But at the end of the day, I agree completely that this guy's a piece of...
he's a piece of work.
He's a piece of work.
Now,
but
the other thing, besides this, Frank, is also that strictly from a getting ready for the Tampa Bay Lightning perspective, it might have been better if he'd skipped it to get a little more rest. I can appreciate that he got a good nap in the other guys did.
He got more than the other guys did. He left after that, right?
No, that's true. But at least he got in his chicken parm and he got in his nap before heading to practice yesterday. Yeah. So that's something. But again, to your point, at this point, it is what it is. They were associating themselves with a known pot stirrer, and it was always going to be controversial.
Oh, no, there's no avoiding it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no avoiding it. They don't go, it causes controversy. They go, it causes controversy. The girls said they're not going. They gave a nice long dissertation on why they weren't going, and none of the obvious was we don't want to see them, we don't want to go there. There were all kinds of reasons given other than we don't want to go. There's talk still that they still may be going to the White House. Now, there will be pressure on them to go to the White House. We know that his people are going to lean on whomever they can lean on to put pressure on them, which is at the root, folks, of why I have no respect for Donald Trump. He is a dictator. He is a simply put dictator, that if you don't do what he wants you to do, he's going to punish you. And if you have any doubts, go to New Jersey, New York. There's a tunnel that's been paid for, that he's withdrawing the ability to use that money, which has already been tendered legally to that project. So I don't have any sympathy for him. I have sympathy for people like Austin Matthews who are trying to live their lives, and they've got to live it upside this guy. I mean, they got to rub elbows with this guy. And I wouldn't touch him because I'd be afraid of what I get if I did. So, this imperialistic genius, can have his day, but I will not hold it against the U.S. players that didn't, buy into his behavior, like the ones that went all in. Those I have questions about. Wearing a MAGA hat, that one there, dude, I'm questioning you. Wearing a red USA hat, that's a different story. So the reports were they were all wearing red hats, or most of them were wearing red hats, leading people to think that they were all MAGA hats. They were not. There were USA hats and one MAGA hat, and that belonged to a Buffalo Sabre. Logan Thompson, I believe, was the guy that had.
Tage, you mean Tage Thompson?
Tage Thompson, thank you. Logan's another guy. Anyway, all right, let's see if we can do some of the stuff that we came here to do, and we'll start by the Maple Leafs, who are playing tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Now, there are a lot of people that the Leafs could potentially trade before the NHL deadline. We have 10 shopping days until the close of the trades. Meaning the roster deadline. Those individuals in question that we could possibly get returns for are Simone Benoit, Brandon Carlo, Scott Lawton, Bobby McMahon, Max Domi, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Kalle Järnkrok, Matthias Michelli, Nick Robertson, Anthony Stolarz, Morgan Riley, and Troy Stecher. Now, a late winning streak during a Northwest road trip before the Olympic break did improve the Leafs' playoff chances. The fact that they came out of there with 3 for 3. That's part of it. But let's call it as it is. This team is not like previous versions. Even in the less than 50-50 chance that they make the playoffs, they aren't as much of a threat to make noise this year. The better course of action would most likely be to sell off their assets, see what they can recoup, maybe get some more draft picks going forward. It's incomplete. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to here is the roster's incomplete as it's currently been constructed.
There are injuries that are coming back, I think, that are relevant to make the team better. But to your point, really, it comes down to a season where more than the normal amount of teams are in the race for the playoffs than usual, right?
Yep.
You can go further down the standings, maybe except for one team. I mean, the Leafs are like second from the bottom or third from the bottom, in a short breath. My point is, a lot of the teams might be buyers, but more importantly, few of them, if they think they got a shot to make the playoffs, are sellers. So the value of what teams have to offer over this moment could be very good. And I really think the Leafs have to retool, not rebuild. So there has to be an opportunity here to be smart on who you trade that you don't see as a long-term benefit to the team or doesn't fit into a core that you have and that you want to build on. And if they do that, they might be able to keep staying away from a lottery pick, because I really do want to see the Leafs deny the Bruins a lottery pick. I really want to see that.
No, I mean, as it currently stands, the Maple Leafs are 6 points out of a playoff spot, tied with the Senators, behind the Washington Capitals. it's still possible for them to make it, but it's unlikely they'll make too much noise there. You're looking at the New Jersey Devils have 58. The Panthers and Flyers are both 2 points behind the Leafs. So again, that's another scenario that we're looking at here that could potentially benefit the Leafs. But the thought is, at this point, retool for sure. You don't necessarily have to tear it down to the studs, but there is some cosmetic work that needs to be done to this team in order to get them over the hump. So the good news is William Nylander appears to be ready for the Maple Leafs playoff push after Sweden's Olympic loss to Austin Matthews and Team USA. He returned home from the Olympics last week after they got bounced from the tournament. It was Nylander's first Olympics. He had 2 goals and 4 points in 5 games. He said he was trying to forget what happened at the Olympics because it wasn't a lot of fun, but it's great to be back. Nylander said he's super happy for Austin and what he was able to accomplish, but I'm obviously upset that we lost. But it was a great game and they did a great job. It's not an easy feat to win the gold medal. If there's anybody else I would want to win it, it would be him for sure. So Maple Leafs line at practice yesterday were McMahon, Cowan, Domi, Michelli, Yarncrook, Nylander, Nyes, Roy, Robertson, Lorenz, Lawton, and Joshua. Tavares was absent with the flu. Matthews was going to meet the team in Tampa after having met the president at the White House. Riley and Carlo, McCabe and Ekman-Larsson, Benoit and Stetcher, and Myers as the 7th defenseman. And Woll looking like he's probably going to be getting the start.
Good for Woll. Okay, let's we got it. We did the second story already. We did Nylander. Let's go over to the Jays and let's talk about Savage.
So the Jays are currently holding him back. Now, they say the Blue Jays front office was saying don't expect to see Trey Savage in action for at least another week. They're taking it slowly with him. He came out of the gate hot last season, obviously. Came all the way through the minors, had 2 starts in the World Series against the LA Dodgers. They're trying to be strategic with him. They're trying to look at the broader picture. It's unrealistic to say, okay, hey, Trey, first year in the big leagues, here's your 32 starts and your 200 innings. They're trying to stay away from that. The team is also looking for opportunities during the season to get Savage some extra rest. Also doesn't mean that he's not going to be excluded from getting sent down to Buffalo to potentially get more starts in should he need it. But he is slated to be a member of Toronto's starting rotation as they're planning on returning to the World Series. But they've also got Shane Bieber, Kevin Gausman, and Jose Barrios, who's going to be returning, along with the additions of Dylan Cease and Cody Ponce. The team is also considering re-signing Max Scherzer. So there would be 7 players right off the hump, 7 starters right off the hump, with potentially Scherzer moving to the bullpen.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the pitching prospects they have and other injury updates.
Yeah, it's been rough. I'm glad that they've been starting some of the prospects here. Shea Yeager and Ricky Tiedemann both suffered injuries last week during bullpen sessions. Yeager, who's a right-handed pitcher, experienced discomfort in his right elbow and is scheduled to see Dr. Keith Meister. Well, he was scheduled to see him yesterday. Talk now is he could end up with season-ending Tommy John. It's not off the table yet, but I haven't seen any updates. Similarly, Ricky Tiedemann experienced left elbow soreness after a side session last week. There was an MRI done that didn't reveal any structural damage, but he's going to take a week off from throwing to be reevaluated after that. So it puts them in an interesting position right off the hop as it currently stands.
Good for them. Okay, so let's see now. Let's go with the Raptors.
Sure. So Wallace led OKC past the Raps 116-107 last night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander missed his hometown game, unfortunately. I was hoping to have seen him there. Dort was playing particularly well for the Thunder, being his usual physical self. Unfortunately, it looked like he did manage to give Scotty Barnes a bit of a stinger. RJ Barrett of Mississauga led Toronto with 21 points, pulling down 8 rebounds and having 4 assists. Quickly had 17 points, and Jacoby Walter came off the bench for 17. Even without SGA, the NBA champs, that's the OKC Thunder, dominated defensively. It was particularly effective against Brandon Ingram through the second and third quarters and helped the visitors lead by as much as 25 at one point. The the Raptors actually outscored the Thunder 32-25 in the first quarter, but then the wheels came off. They did manage to claw back to 5 points, but that is about as close as they got.
Absolutely. But Barrett's been helping them out to keep them at least close when they're having problems.
Oh, for sure. And he said it's a huge jump. He's saying from where they are last year. You got to think of where they were last year when they were 30-52 as versus where they stand now. Certainly, they have had some issues against top tier teams. In particular, they've been 4-14 against the league's top 10, with 3 of those wins against the Cleveland Cavaliers before they got James Harden in a trade with the Clippers back in February. So, it's important to keep in mind that while the team has made progress, they aren't going to be perfect yet. So the Lions did actually sign Jamal Parker. Parker's 5'8", 177 pounds, played 11 games with the Blue Bombers last season. He had 36 defensive tackles, 1 interception, and also had a 60-yard fumble recovery touchdown in Week 3 against the Lions. He missed the entire 2024 season due to a torn ACL suffered in training camp, but had 21 regular season games for the Bombers in 22 and 23. He also played 48 games at Kent State from 2016 to 19, recording 230 tackles. Frank, you're currently on mute as well.
Aaron, I wanted to keep you not abreast of the situation. Let's go over to the Argos.
Sure. They've assigned American offensive lineman Philip Wilder. Wilder attended the University of Cincinnati in 23 and 24, where he played 15 games along the O-line. He ranked 6th in the Big 12 in total offense, and the offensive line paved the way for Corey Kiner to rush for a second consecutive 1,000-yard season. It'll be interesting to see where he fits into the lineup. Certainly, I'm anticipating that it's going to be interesting with him there. He's 6'5" and 315 pounds, so they've definitely solidified that one of the big men up front.
Let's go with hockey and go with the National Hockey League's Canadian teams, and let's go to Montreal and Line A.
So the good news is Line A's $8.7 million contract appears to be less intimidating than it actually sounds. He's missed most of the season with an injury. That's the first obstacle to trading him. He hasn't played since October after having had surgery on a core muscle, but he returned to practice with Montreal over the Olympic break. The other thing that looms large is his $8.7 million salary cap hit, but he's in the final year of that deal, so it's a low-risk pickup for somebody that wants to pick him up. They'll just be responsible for the salary remaining for this year. Montreal also hasn't used any of its salary retention slots, so there's a possibility that they could retain some if they did decide to move him.
Let's talk about the Senators and what are the chances they'll make the playoffs?
Well, I mean, it's not entirely out of the realm of possibility for them to make it. Back on January 27th, the Sens were 10 points behind the Bruins for the final wildcard spot. A 5-1-0 stretch leading into the Olympic break, which included wins over the Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche, brought them back to within striking distance and validated the belief in the locker room that the team is miles better than its record. With 25 games remaining, they still have the NHL worst .868 save percentage, which sucks. But, convincing signs began popping up the week before the February break. Ullmark played well. They appeared in a remarkable performance, making 26 saves against the New Jersey Devils. And then 2 days later, a win again against the Pittsburgh Penguins. James Reimer then stepped in against the Flyers to make 15 saves in a 2-1 overtime win. The fact that they're sitting where they are definitely means their chances have improved.
Absolutely. Well, the Jets, their goalie wins a Medal of Freedom. That's a big deal. Only 12 other times was it given.
Yeah, the Presidential Medal of Freedom is the highest honor a civilian can receive. After winning gold for the first time in 46 years, the President of the United States decided, hey, I'm going to give it to Connor Hellebuck in acknowledgement of the fact that he did play extremely well. I think he pretty much stole the game for the Americans, but that's, it is what it is. Now, the other thing that came out of the State of the Union address, beside the public announcement that Connor Hellebuck would be getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom, is that the women's team would be acknowledged by the White House very soon. I don't know exactly what that means, but we'll keep an eye on this in the days to come to see what pops up.
Absolutely. Let's go to the Flames.
So,
what are they up to?
Well, that's a very good question. They've got 26 games left in the regular season. Now, you don't just overcome an 11-point deficit at this time of year. The 10-point gap between the Flames and the dead last Vancouver Canucks is only narrowly smaller than the margin between Calgary and the Anaheim Ducks, who are currently sitting in the second wildcard spot. Of course, that means that there's more talk about which veterans the Flames might trade before the March 6th deadline. But we do know that with Zane Parekh and Matvei Gridin in the mix, there is a certain youth movement that's coming. Those two first-round picks, the 2024 draft, are very obviously there to stay. They've got to earn it, but because the Flames chose to cut Parekh in the NHL instead of sending him back to junior, because they think it's the best place for him to develop, is a very positive sign. The Flames also are a quicker team than most people would expect. Improving team speed, however, was a point of emphasis all week. They need to make sure that they can keep up. And they're also going to be forgetting about tanking, which is, I think, one of the more important things that they had to consider here. They've traded Rasmus Anderson. They're currently without Jonathan Huberdeau for the rest of the season, and could also move people like Nazem Kadri or Blake Coleman, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're looking to deep six everything.
I heard Kadri was interested in leaving.
I'd heard that as well. There have been some rumblings to that effect, but not a lot has really surfaced as regards to anything concrete.
Let's talk about the Oilers, and an old friend of theirs is on the move, maybe.
Yeah. One of the guys that they were relying on heavily in their past couple of playoff runs by the name of Brett Kulak has been traded to Colorado in exchange for Samuel Girard and a second-round pick going to Pittsburgh. Kulak was one of those guys that didn't get as much credit as he deserved for his play with the Oilers on the back end. He was still playing okay defense for the Oilers, and there was hope that he'd be able to raise his game. But his $2.7 million a year and the fact that he didn't have a no trade or no movement clause meant that they could free up space for other things, like bringing in Tristan Jarry, which they felt at goaltender was a bigger need. So we'll see how this pans out. Hopefully we'll have a chance to see Kulak play his old team.
Well, I'm kind of pulling for Edmonton. I'm telling you, we talked so much about Austin Matthews, but we didn't talk about the number 2 captain with Canada. Connor McDavid, I want to personally, on behalf of people who think like me, I want to thank him for how hard he tried to bring us a gold medal. I'm very proud of the job he did. He was the best player at the tournament. Reality is that, the big game that's probably keeping him awake is the last game where he didn't make, he started out getting 3 points a game, and 2 points in this game, 2 more points by him would have made a big difference. Now, that's not to suggest that he's to blame for what's happened. It's only to say that he is such a great player. We Canadians are lucky that he's willing to put on the jersey with the Canadian maple leaf on it. And I feel bad for him, because this guy has been knocking on the door of major success repeatedly and just has not, except for one time, that's the Four Nations, the least of the important championships that I think he wants. But he got that one. And another 4 years, got to wait for the Olympics, Stanley Cup. He's in a situation much like the Leafs, right? He recognizes that you can't compete at that level consistently. At some point, you're going to drop off, and at least a little time will be required, not to rebuild, but to retool. So that's what he's up against. So I wish the Oilers a lot of luck. I got to tell you, they're a Canadian team, and you know how I feel about Canadian teams.
Oh, I definitely do.
Let's talk about the Canucks now, another Canadian team.
Yeah. So they're currently looking to move Evander Kane. They picked him up from the Oilers, expecting bigger things. Unfortunately, they didn't keep the receipt, so they're kind of saddled with him for now. But he's a very strong candidate to be moved by the Vancouver Canucks. But it's more going to be, I think, a matter of timing. Now, the trade return's not going to be huge, but the Canucks will absolutely have to move him if they can find a taker. Even in a rough season, though, he's had a pedigree of someone who has experience on winning teams, and any of the current contenders could potentially be interested in that. Now, the Los Angeles Kings have already picked up Artemi Panarin before the Olympics. It is possible that he could go there. The other team that could be using added forward depth would be the Colorado Avalanche. And Nate McKinnon's going to be an absolute menace for the rest of the season based on his miss at the Olympics. So
he's going to be a little angry.
It's one of those things, man. You thought he skated like he hated the ice and the puck before. Oh, it's going to be fun to watch for those.
Here's another guy I wish a lot of luck this year, but he has the misfortune, from my perspective, to play for an American team. And he's already won the cup a few times too. So
the fallout from this is going to be interesting. I mean, we don't have to touch on my last story there because we've already covered that.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see, how Americans fans react to Canadian players as opposed to how Canadian fans are going to react to American players.
I'm really worried about the Canadian fans more. The losing part, mind you, though, if we go by the Kachucks, good sportsmanship and winning isn't a guarantee either. I mean, it's obvious, people could be resentful by losing, but I've never seen that kind of poor behavior after winning. That's kind of a special thing. That's kind of a special trait.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not even mad that they lost. I'm mad at the fans' reaction. Right?
I am too. I am too.
Oh, so frustrating.
We should realize they gave it their best. Is there any reason to think they didn't? No, I don't think there is. I mean, let's face it. Faking hitting a post, that's a pretty good deal if you can pull that off. I got to tell you. Well, anyway, another Olympics will be coming down the road, the Summer Olympics. It won't include our hockey team, but it will include our lacrosse team. So we'll have another Canadian team to support in the Olympics in the summer, and that'll be fun too. Aaron, have yourself a great day. Enjoy the first game back for the Leafs. I know you will. And we'll talk to you on the other side and be back again on Friday.
See you then.
For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next time. And that next time is Friday.